Hello and welcome to Tap That MTG, the show where we tell you everything we know about Magic the Gathering. That's probably wrong, but fun to talk about. I'm Leslie.
And I'm Shauna.
Today we are bringing you the last in our series of Commander 2020 videos. We're doing some deep
We
dives,
saved the best for
taking you
last.
through exactly. I was just going to say we saved the best for last. Um, we're taking you through the deck, going through all the cards, what they do, trying to give you some hints on if you're a new player, how to play this deck, how it works. This one overall is fairly simple to play, but we are going to compare it with our preferred formula, which goes through what a typical commander deck has versus what this one has and why it might be that way, as well as if you get to the last third of our video, it will be some tweaks that we have that we think might be good for this deck if you want to tweak it at all. So yeah, let's dive into it. What is this deck? And who's the commander? And what does it do, Shauna?
All right. So, this Ruthless Regiment deck is all about getting as many humans out on the battlefield as you can, play a lot of creatures, create tokens, and just run over everyone. And if they have a board wipe, so what? I'm just going to keep making some more. It's
Yep.
so fun. The commander is Jarina Kudrow. For one, a red, a white, and a black, a legendary human soldier, and when she enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human soldier creature token for each time you've cast a commander from the command zone this game. So you do have to keep casting her, but you're going to keep her alive. She's a 3/3, so she's pretty tough, and other humans you control get +2/+0. So you're going to run over everybody, and they're going to be dead before the game is even gets going for them. Haha.
Yeah, I find that interesting that it has like one for every time this has been cast from the command zone because there's not a lot in this deck that makes the commander tax cheaper.
Mhm.
If any, well, there's nothing in this deck that makes the
Yeah.
commander tax cheaper. So I'm not sure how much you'll be using that portion of it. I think the synergy in and of itself is good, but it's a cheap commander.
Mhm.
So yeah. So as far as deck breakdown goes, this deck has fairly even colors across the board with 10 colorless. Red is 13, black is 9, and multicolor is 10. However, there are 22 white creatures or cards in this deck. So it is definitely white
Soldiers.
heavy. Yeah, it's the soldiers. Plus, if you are doing tweaks, just keep that in mind for your land base
Good
that
point.
you don't want to take too many white out of this because you still want to have the white to cast those spells. When we look at creature types and card types, there's 36 land in this deck, one planeswalker, as with all of them, 33 creatures, so it's a very creature heavy deck. There are 5 sorceries, 6 instants, 10 artifacts, and 9 enchantments.
Mhm.
So, again, creature heavy and fairly aggressive, which, if we look at our mana curve, we can see that for sure.
Definitely.
Um, Pretty much everything is 4 cost and under, with most things being 3 cost and 2 cost. So you're going to get a bunch of stuff out. Even your commander only costs 4. There are a few higher value cards, but obviously those are ones that are going to change the game for you, and we'll talk about those when we come. So aggressive deck, swing fast, swing hard, swing lost. If you're one of those people that doesn't like to, be the first to get out there and swing, probably this isn't the deck for you.
No.
But if you're one of those people that's like, whatever,
Let's
we're
just
here to play
play.
Commander, let's just swing, this is the deck for you. So Shauna and
Mhm.
I both play this style very well. So what are we breaking down first? Which category?
All right. Well, we're going into the ramp and mana generator section. And this is again based on the formula that Leslie talks about in her building from scratch video. Make sure you go and watch that. Um, so the formula says 15, and this deck has 10 because again, you don't need a ton of ramp stuff in this one. It's a pretty aggro deck, so you have a lot of low cost stuff. So the first card we're going to look at is Verge Rangers for 2 and a white. It's a human scout, a 3/3 human scout that has first strike, and you may look at the top card of your library anytime. And as long as an opponent controls more lands than you may play lands from the top of your library. So, yeah, you're just going to be getting extra land anyways. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
Another great if they control more lands than you card is Knight of White Orchid, which costs 2 white. It's a human knight with first strike. And when it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you can search your library for a plains card and put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. So again, important, don't take all the plains out of your deck.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be able to search for them.
Yep. Then we've got the Arcane Signet, which is the new staple that we have for Commander. It costs 2. It's an artifact that you can add 1 mana of any color than your Commander's color identity.
Hmm. And Borrow Signet, it just taps for actually a red and a white. So that's fun. You pay 1 to tap for 2.
Yeah. And Orzhov Signet and Rakdos
Oh,
Signet do
yeah.
the same thing.
Hmm.
Yeah, for white and black and red.
Yeah. Command Sphere, you get to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's identity. And then, of course, Soul Ring just taps for 2.
And then we've got our new Bonder's Ornament, which is a new commander staple that both of us love a lot. It is for 3. It's an artifact that you can add 1 mana of any color, and you can pay 4 later on, and each player who controls a Bonder's Ornament gets to draw a card.
Hmm. And shiny impetus, now in our other videos, you'll notice that this impetus is usually in the removal because it has goad and you're going to put it on another creature. It costs 3. You enchant your opponent's creatures and give them +2/+2, but they have to attack somebody else and they have to attack each combat if able. But we put it in this category this time because it does get you treasure tokens and really there's a lot of other removal, so we figured it was probably in this deck more for the treasure tokens than anything.
Yeah. Okay, and then we're getting into the removal section. Speaking of removal, so the formula says 15. This deck is 19, but a lot of that is creatures that have a bonus of doing some really aggro removal stuff. So the
Mm-hmm.
first one we've got is Kelsian the Plague for a red, 1 white, 1 black, a 2/2 Vigilance Haste creature that gets +1/+1 for each experience counter you have. So, and you can tap it and deal 1 damage to a target creature you don't control. When that creature dies this turn, you get an experience counter. So, that's going to be something that you got to be paying attention to. You're going to be
Mm-hmm.
doing that as much as you can on the opponent's turn and seeing how you can kill off some creatures with that.
And it is a tap ability, so you
Yeah,
can't swing with it and then do it. So you
exactly.
do have to think about that.
Yeah,
Bounty Agent for 1 and a white is a human soldier with vigilance, and you can just tap her to destroy legendary permanent that is an artifact, creature, or enchantment. So good versatility, 2/2
yeah,
for 2, nothing wrong with that.
yeah. Magus of the Disc for 2, a white, 2 and 2 white. It's a 2/4 and it enters the battlefield tapped, but you can pay 1 and tap this card and destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. And you get to do that over and over again because you don't have to sacrifice this creature, which is really cool.
Yeah. And then Audric, Master Tactician. No, now I know this is an aside, but you guys love it because we talk about other things. But he is so handsome. And it's so funny because you know how what you found handsome when you were younger is completely different now. I would never, like the people that my mom found handsome when I was a kid, I was like, ew, he's so old. But this guy, he is something else. I
Like
like it.
Sam
Anyways.
Elliott, for example. Our
Oh
mothers were
yeah,
in love with
totally.
Sam Elliott, and now we're in love with Sam Elliott because he's still hot.
Yeah, maybe it's that he's good with his sword, right?
Maybe.
Anyways, for 2 and 2 white, he has first strike, and when at least 3 other creatures attack, whenever this guy and 3 other creatures attack,
Hmm.
you choose a creature. Uh, the you choose which creatures block this combat and how those creatures block. So bye bye choice for your opponent, which is fantastic. Anytime you can
Yep.
take away choice.
You have the control. Captivating crew for 3 and a red. This is a fun pirate from Ixalan and a 4/3. And you can pay 3 and a red and gain control of target creature and opponent controls until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn, and activate this ability only anytime you could cast a sorcery.
Great
So,
card.
yeah, it's really fun.
Hmm. And Fumiko the Low Blood came out in Kamigawa block. Uh, This one has a fun ability that you don't see very often. It has Bushido X, where X is the number of attacking creatures. It costs 2 and 2 red for a 3/2. And basically, what the heck is Bushido? Whenever this creature blocks or becomes block, it gets plus X until the end of turn. So um, X is, of course, the number of attacking creatures. So you're going to attack with lots of things and make this one really big.
Yeah. Wow. And then creatures your opponents control attack each combat if able.
Yeah,
Ooh,
yeah.
that's going to
Pretty
be
cool.
interesting. Wow.
Hmm.
Titan of the Eternal Fire for 5 and a red, a big 5/6 giant. And each human creature you control has, you can pay 1 red and tap it, and this creature deals 1 damage to any target. So use your
Yeah.
humans. Use
Use
them.
your humans, use them well. Banisher Priest for 1 and 2 white is a human cleric for 2, or that's a 2/2. And when it enters the battlefield, you get to exile target creature and opponent controls until Banisher Priest leaves the battlefield. So basically, he's just a little tuck under guy. And when he dies, if he dies, then they get their creature back. But
Hmm.
yeah, that's okay.
And Devout Chaplain, it's for 2 and a white, a 2/2, and you can tap this card and tap 2 untapped humans you control and exile target artifact or enchantment. A little bit of
Hmm.
removal going on a creature.
Yeah. So Citywide Bust is our first board wipe that we have
Hmm.
in our deck. So this one is important to play timing wise because a lot of your creatures get buffed up by each other. So you want to be cognizant of how much power or how much toughness your creatures have. But positive note, like your commander only gives them +2/+0, so that doesn't
Hmm.
affect their toughness. But destroy all creatures toughness 4 or greater.
Cleansing Nova for 3 and 2 white. Less than I love this card. Not really.
Hmm.
When it's used against us, it's not very good. You can choose one: destroy all creatures or destroy all artifacts and enchantments. Very
Yeah.
versatile in the commander deck.
Yeah, and you're probably going to choose artifacts or enchantments and enchantments with this card.
Yes.
Unexpectedly Absent for X and 2 white is an
It's
instant, and
kind
you
of
put
fun.
target non land permanent into its owner's library just beneath the top X cards of your library. So they keep getting that thing back. You just keep putting it into their library, or well, not keep putting it in, but you can do it once and,
Yeah.
make X 15 and make them wait for it. So
Bury that sucker. Uh,
bury it.
yeah. Then we've got Crackling Doom for a red, a white, and a black. It is an instant that deals 2 damage to each opponent. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls. So some very specific removal for each of your opponents.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Hmm.
Dire Tactics, we talked about this in one of our other videos, but exile target creature. If you don't control a human, you lose life equal to that creature's toughness. So, no, we didn't talk about it in another video. I got it yesterday in one of my drafts. That's why I know it.
It's
I'm
a
like,
good
I've
card.
seen this before.
Yep.
It's a good card.
And Terminate, we have talked about that one before because it's kind of a commander staple. It's red and a black and an instant that's destroy target creature and it can't be regenerated.
Hmm. Sanctuary locked down, 2 and 1 white. It's an enchantment. Humans you control get +1/+1. Yay! We
Yay!
have all humans. You can also pay 2 and tap 2 untap humans you control to tap target creature and opponent controls. And you can do that as many times as you want. So you have all these little tokens that you've created. Just use them to tap everything down and then swing with gusto.
Then we're back to those impetuses. We have a parasitic impetus in this deck, and it's for 2 and a black, and enchantment aura that you attach to their creatures, and the creature gets +2/+2 and is goaded. And whenever enchanted creature attacks, its controller loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Sweet. I
Yep.
like that.
Yeah. And Martial Impetus also has goad. And whenever enchanted creature attacks, each other creature that is attacking one of your opponents gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. So, yeah, that's great.
It's not happening to you.
Well, and it's interesting because that card, normally you put the ones with goad on another creature, but this deck really expects you to attack each combat. You might want to put that on your own creature so that you just keep attacking in and you get the benefit of
Yeah,
+1
yeah.
+1.
I guess it would depend on the situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Vigilante Justice for 3 and a red. This one is whenever a human enters the battlefield under your control, this enchantment deals 1 damage to any target. Think about that when
Hmm.
you're thinking about tokens. That could
You're
be
going to
a
be creating a
lot of
lot of
damage.
damage at one time,
Yep.
right? So it's not just one. So the next section is card draw and tutors. Our preferred formula says 13. Our deck has 11, so right on par there. The first one in there is our Planeswalker, which is Nahiri the Harbinger. It costs 2 and a red and a white for a 4 loyalty Planeswalker. You can +2 her to discard a card and draw a card. You can -2 her to exile target enchantment, tapped artifact, or tapped creature. So there's a little removal on this card.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can -8 her to search your library for an artifact or creature card, put it in onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. It gains haste, and then you return it to your hand at the beginning of your next end step. So you do have to pay for it at some point, but nice little tutor there.
Yeah. Then we have a I can't say that word today. Species
Species.
specialist. It's 2 S's together there.
Yeah.
SPs. It's for 2 and a black, a 2/3 human warrior that when it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. Whenever a creature of the chosen type dies, you may draw a card. So, when humans die, draw some cards? Maybe. Possibly.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Fireflux Squad. Look at that squad. For 3 and a red, it has haste. It's 4/3. And when the squad attacks, you may exile another target attacking creature you control. If you do, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield tapped and attacking, and the rest on the bottom of your library in random order. So this is a fun card. It's really cool. You attack, you just kind of I'm going to reveal cards from the top of my library, and I'm just going to put the first creature I come across onto the battlefield, and it's attacking as well. The rest go onto the bottom. And some of those, when they're attacking, they buff up things too. So there's a lot of like, what's going to happen with that card?
Yeah. Then we have Disciple of Bolus for 3 and a black, a 2/1 wizard, human wizard. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice another creature. You gain X life and draw X cards, where X is that creature's power. So there's where you can steal one of their creatures maybe with that pirate and then sacrifice it after you've used it. It's nice.
Mhm. So Magus of the Wheel is 2 and a red, and basically you put him on. He's a 3/3, and he's a solid body. He's a human, so he gets all the human buffs. But when you feel like it, you can pay 2 and tap him and sacrifice him. And then each player discards their hand, then draw 7 cards. So you're going to use this when you have no cards left in hand and you need to draw 7 more. Plus, if they've been hoarding their cards because they just are a blue player for whatever reason, they got to discard their hand and get rid of all those cards they've been hoarding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we have Humble Defector for 1 and a red, a 2/1 human rogue that you can tap and draw 2 cards. If you do, though, target opponent gains control of Humble Defector and activate this ability only during your turn.
Hmm.
So it's interesting.
It's another political shenanigans card, which it
Mm-hmm.
kind of adds some fun to this deck. And that's the painful truth of it. Speaking of painful truths, our
Yeah.
next card is two and a black for a card called Painful Truth. It's a sorcery. It has Converge, which you draw X cards and you lose X life, where X is the number of colors of mana spent to cast this spell. Of course, there is only three colors in this deck, so the most it could be is three, but you draw three cards, nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. Ambition's cost for three and a black. It's a sorcery that you get to draw three cards and lose three life. Simple.
Hmm.
Similar.
Heirloom, yeah, similar. Yeah, Heirloom Blade is this our first artifact we've talked about? No, except for the
The
mana
mana
stuff.
dorks, yeah.
This is our first fun artifact. For
Yeah.
three, artifact equipment, equipped creature gets +3/+1. Again, it lots of power, not as much
Mm-hmm.
toughness, which saves him. Whenever equipped creature dies, you may reveal cards from your top of your library until you reveal a creature card that shares a creature type, which is everything,
Mm-hmm.
and put a card into your hand and the rest at the bottom of your library. So it's only equip one, which is great. Just a reminder, you can only equip at sorcery speed.
Yeah. So that just fits so well with this aggro deck, right?
Yeah,
Your creatures are going to die, but you're going to be taking theirs out with it.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. Skull clamp for one. It is a equipment that the equipped creature gets +1/+1, and whenever it dies, you get to draw two cards. So there you
Plus
are.
one, -1.
+1/-1. Oh, thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and equipped is one for that one as well. So more card draw.
Yeah, well, and a lot of your creatures are just 1/1s. So it will automatically
Oh,
kill them when
well,
you
there's that.
equip it,
There's
and
that.
then you get to draw cards. And you can equip for one, so you can just do that as many times as you need cards. So that's like a constant card draw.
I never even thought of that. So
Yeah.
that's really cool.
Yeah. Outpost Siege for three and a red is an enchantment. Basically, when it enters the battlefield, you get to choose cons or dragons. Cons, you're probably not going to pick because it's at the beginning of your upkeep. Exile the top card of your library until the end of turn. You may play that card. Sure, it gets you a little bit of extra, but I would probably choose dragons. So this is like, it could be card draw if you need it to be, but dragons, whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, it deals one damage to any target. So that will really stop them from trying to board wipe you because um, all your creatures are going to do damage to their one guy that they want to save.
Hmm.
So,
Good point. Good point.
mm-hmm.
Again, depends on the situation. What do you need?
Yeah, exactly.
Then we're into the high impact creatures and cards for this deck. Formula says about 12. This deck has 12. So these cards are ones that are really going to swing the game in your favor. So Dearly Departed for 4 and 2 white. It's a 5/5 flying spirit that as long as it's in your graveyard, each human creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it. So those
Crazy.
human tokens are going to be 2/2s instead of 1/1s.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Love that card.
At
It's
least.
perfect.
Yeah.
That's one of our more expensive cards in this deck,
Mm-hmm.
but again, we talked about the fact that the expensive cards are usually game changers.
Yep.
Thalia Lieutenant is for one and a one and a white. I'm colorblind today. Thalia's Lieutenant enters the battlefield, put a 1/1 counter on each other human you control, and whenever a
So
human
nice.
enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Thalia Lieutenant. Just keeps getting counters, just keeps getting
Yeah.
bigger. This is a great card. I don't know why it only costs two. It's just like
It's a little
really
insane.
powerful.
The Zathrid Necromancer. I'm assuming the X is a Z sound. It's a human wizard. Whenever it or another human creature you control dies, create a tapped 2/2 black zombie creature token. Let's just add some zombies in there. All our humans are going to come back as zombies.
Yeah.
So nice.
Zombie, zombie.
Yeah,
Anyway,
exactly.
Alicia, who smiles at death, is two in a red, legendary creature human warrior with first strike. She's a 3/2. And when she attacks, you may pay hybrid mana, white. Uh, white, black. If you do, return target creature card with a power 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So basically, every time she attacks, she has first strike, so they're not going to want to block her, especially if she's buffed up with a whole bunch of other things.
Mm-hmm.
You get to bring one of your creatures back.
To help her.
So, yeah.
She's got some friends. Adriana, Captain of the Guard. I love her. She is for 3 red and a white, a 4/4 melee human knight. So melee means whenever this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each opponent you attacked with a creature this combat. Other creatures you control have melee. So yeah, all of your creatures are going to be attacking everywhere, and this is when you're going to do the big game ending, swinging everybody, kill everyone, because all these guys are going to be all buffed
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Well, and you can also use that like if you're doing the political game, you can say, "Well, I'm going to send one at who are we playing with again? Johnny, Brad, and Patrick."
Yep.
So you're going to send one at Johnny, one at Patrick because those two you're working with, but
Mm-hmm.
Brad, we want him to die and everything else goes at Brad.
Yep.
They still get all buffed up. So those other guys, they can deal with the one thing that's coming at them that's buffed up, but poor Brad, he's just dead.
He's dead.
Yeah. General's Enforcer for a white and a black is a legendary human you control, or sorry, is a human soldier, and legendary humans you control have indestructible. I think this is a key card for this deck
Mm-hmm.
because we were talking about board wipes. If your creatures have indestructible, then unless they're being sacrificed or getting minus counters, they can't die from board wipes.
Yep.
So great. Two and a has an activated ability of 2 and a white and a black, where you can exile target card from a graveyard, so it can be an opponent's. If it was a creature card, you get to create a 1/1 human soldier creature token.
Yep.
So yeah,
He's pretty.
more stubborn than Dranith's walls.
Yep.
That's the flavor text.
Uh, Cavalry Pegasus for 1 and a white, a 1/1 flying Pegasus. But whenever it attacks, each attacking human gains flying until end of turn. Let's send all those humans up in the sky with their Pegasus.
Hmm. Love that card. Zilliport Cutthroat is
Mm-hmm.
a human rogue ally creature, and it costs 1 and a black. And whenever this guy or another creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life.
Sorry.
So we didn't talk about where tweaks wise. I was curious. There's a few things that match this that aren't in our tweaks yet. I thought maybe Shauna would put those in there, but we can maybe talk about those when we get there.
All right, so increasing devotion for 3 and 2 white. It's a sorcery that's create 5/1/1 white human creature tokens. If the spell was cast from a graveyard, create 10 of those tokens instead. And the flashback cost is 7 and 2 white. So you're going to do that probably twice in the game.
And remember that card that's an enchantment that does 1 damage every time a human enters? Just saying.
Just saying.
Flawless Flawless Maneuver for 2 and a white is an instant. If you control a commander, you can cast this for free. All the decks have 1 free spell if
Mm-hmm.
you have your commander out. Creatures you control gain indestructible until the end of turn. So again, someone does a board wipe, you have your commander, which is also a creature. You're just like, nope, not gonna destroy them all.
For free.
Yeah.
Then we've got Molten Echoes for 2 and 2 red, an enchantment that as it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type, humans. Whenever a non-token creature of the chosen type enters a battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. That token gains haste and exile at the beginning of the next end step. So you're going to be playing all these humans. Yeah, sure, the main human can't swing right away, but his little
Hmm.
token friend can.
Yeah. That will definitely create some shared animosity around the table. I
Yes,
am so
yes,
good
it
at
will.
this
You
today.
are
I am
good.
on. Anyway,
She
shared
can't tell you
animosity is
colors,
our
but she
next
can make all
card.
these.
Exactly. 2 and a red, it's an enchantment. And whenever a creature you control attacks, it gets +1/+0 until the end of turn for each other attacking creature that shares a creature type with it, which is everything. And again, +1/+0. So they're just really powerful, not a lot of toughness, but they're going to swing in. Now we just got to give them all trample.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
not with this color deck, you probably.
No, I know, probably not.
So then we have our next section, which is other cards on theme, win condition, specialty cards, kind of whatever didn't fit somewhere else. We're putting it in here. So the formula says 10. The deck has 11, we think. So for the first one, this is a really cool human soldier, Trin, Champion of Freedom, for 3 and a white, a 3/3 legendary. But this is a partner with the Silver Devourer of the Free. So at the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. And then the partner, the Cat Nightmare, that partners with the Silvar, is for 3, a black and a red, a 4/2, and it has Menace. And with this one, you have to sacrifice a human and put a 1/1 counter on this Silvar, and it gains indestructible until end of turn. So yeah, you're going to be making some little sacrificial lambs, and this cat's going to get bigger and run them over because it has Menace.
Yep. That's awesome. And it's a cat.
Yeah.
Titan Hunter for 4 and a black is a human warrior, and it's a 4/5. At the beginning of each player's end step, if no creatures died this turn, Titan Hunter deals 4 damage to that player. You can also do 1 and a black to sacrifice a creature and gain 4 life. So you can do that as many times as you want. Ensure that some creatures die. Yeah, it's nice. It's neat.
And then we have the frontline medic for 2 and a white, a 3/3 human cleric that has battalion, which means whenever frontline medic and at least 2 other creatures attack, creatures you control gain indestructible to end of turn. And then you can sacrifice the medic and counter target spell with X in its mana cost unless its controller pays 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So any of those
And
crazy.
yeah, exactly. Frontier Warmonger for 3 and a red is a creature human warrior. That's a 4/4. And whenever one or more creatures attacks one of your opponents or planeswalkers they control, those creatures gain menace until the end of turn. So
Mm-hmm.
again, just buffing everything up. And I like how it's whenever one or more creatures attack one of your opponents or a planeswalker they control. It doesn't necessarily mean on your turn. So
Mm-hmm.
want them to attack everyone else,
It's
not
just
you.
as the warmonger, right?
Yeah.
Riders of Gavany for 2 and 2 white, a 3/3 human knight with vigilance. And when it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Humans. Human creatures you control. Or, oh no, sorry, this is not humans. You want to choose a creature type that they have, because then human creatures you control have protection from creatures of that type. Sorry, I was jumping ahead on that.
Hmm. So if they're playing cats or dragons or elves or some other tribal deck.
Yeah. Protection.
Hmm. What is protection again?
It means that it can't be blocked, it can't be damaged, it can't be targeted by anything of that sort.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And enchanted by. So DET
Enchanted
is
by.
the
Yeah.
acronym, right?
Yeah.
So damaged, enchanted, blocked by, or targeted by.
Targeted. Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool, cool.
Th- Thraben Doomsayer for 1 and 2 white is a human cleric. It's a 2/2. And you can tap this guy and create a 1/1 human creature token. So you need some more tokens. Let's just tap this guy, create another one. He also has Fateful Hour, which means as long as you have 5 or less life, other creatures you control get +2/+2. So if they decide that they're going to target you, that's okay. You got this guy. He's going to make everything bigger to save you in that fateful hour.
That's right. Then we have Garna the Blood Flame for 3, a black and a red, a 3/3 flash human warrior. When it enters the battlefield, return to your hand all creature cards in your graveyard that were put there from anywhere this turn. And other creatures you control have haste.
Yeah.
What? Crazy.
Pretty crazy. Love the haste. Call the Copper Coats for 2 and a white is an instant. Um, I'm going to tell you what the instant does first, and then I'll talk about strive. So choose
Okay.
any number of target opponents and create X11 white human soldier creature tokens, where X is the number of creatures those opponents control. So you're just going to pay 3 and you get you can choose any number of opponents. So I'm going to choose all of them. And you can create X11 human soldiers for every creature that is available on the battlefield at that point. So scribe, you're like, well, why would I scribe it? It already exists. Because the scribe cost makes it account for a 1 and a white. So you get to choose again. You can scribe as many times as you want. So let's say there's 20 of these on the battlefield and somebody else has 20 of these target opponents. You get 20 human soldier creature tokens. You pay the scribe cost for 2. You get another 20. You pay the scribe cost again. You get another 20. So yeah.
Is that how that works, or is it just really? Yes.
Yep.
I thought you had to pick one, and then the next one you pay two.
No, it says choose choose card as total number of cards. Because I had to like think about this part. I'm like, well, why would you scribe if you can choose any number of people? And then I was like, oh, so that you get X amount if they happen to be additional cards.
Wow. That's insane,
Yeah.
but okay. Then we have a Sanctuary Blade, which is a 2 cost equipment that it, as it becomes attached to a creature, choose a color. And the equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has protection from the last chosen color. So you're going to
That's
protect it
awesome.
from whatever you need to
Yeah.
protect it from.
Bastion of Remembrance for 2 and a black is an enchantment. And when Bastion of Remembrance enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 human soldier creature token. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So again,
Love it.
I don't care if my guys die. That's okay. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to gain life and you're going to lose life anyway.
Yeah. And then we're going into our land section. So this deck has 36 land and our formula has 32. So this one here, we've got some lands that have hideaway, so Wind Brisk Heights and Spine Rock Knoll. And one's white and one's red. And what hideaway means is this land enters the battlefield tapped. When it does, look at the top 4 cards of your library and exile one of them face down and then put the rest on the bottom of your library. So you're just going to tuck a card underneath these lands, and then you can pay the color of the land and then tap this card, and you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if you attacked with 3 or more creatures this turn. And the red one is you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost if an opponent was dealt 7 or more damage this turn. So it just depends. It's just a great little way to have a little secret surprise under there.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Bajuka Bog, which is black. It's entering the battlefield tapped. And when it enters the battlefield, exile all cards from target player's graveyard. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
bye-bye all your graveyard shenanigans.
And then we have a bunch of dual lands. Of course, dual lands are super important for a commander deck so
Mm-hmm.
that you can get what you need on the battlefield. So we have Battlefield Forge, Boros Garrison, Windscarred Crag, and those are our red whites, Smoldering Marsh, and Shadowblood Ridge, and Rakdos Carnarium, and Bloodfell Caves are our black red. And then we have some Orzhov ones,
Mm-hmm.
Orzhov Basilica, and Scoured Barrens are our white black. So those are all our dual lands in this deck.
Then we've got some other special lands. Nomad Outpost is enters the battlefield tapped, and it's for either the red, the white, or the black. So all 3 of those. It can be any of those. And then Path of Ancestry is a really good one for this one. It enters battlefield tapped and add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. When the mana is spent to cast a creature spell that shares a creature type with your commander, you get to scry. So that's where the having all those humans is really good. And then unclaimed territory, it is, again, you choose a creature type, humans obviously, and you get to add 1 mana to cast of any color to cast those creatures. And then we've got Command Tower and Exotic Orchard. So Command Tower is 1 mana of any color of your commander, and Exotic Orchard is 1 mana of any color that your opponents control.
Hmm. And then we have our sacrifice search lands, Myriad Landscape, Evolving Wilds, and they both allow you to, at some point when you choose, sacrifice them and search for a land. And then Temple of the False Gods taps for 2 colorless. You can only activate this ability if you have 5 or more lands, but that's always a good thing. There is also 8 plains, 4 swamp, and 4 mountains in this deck. I would leave if you're going to take out any of the land, which you can in this deck, I would leave the plains in there at
Mm-hmm.
least. Because again, white heavy as well as there's some search for plain cards in
Yep.
there. So,
Yep.
and then use your evolving wilds and your myriad landscapes to search for your swamp and mountain if you
Yep.
need. So moving on to tweaks. This is the portion that you've all been waiting for, our recommendations. So we mentioned a little bit at the beginning that this deck is actually pretty solid as it is. It doesn't need any tweaks. None of them need tweaks,
Mm-hmm.
other than the fact that they have a little bit too much land. So you could take some land out and put some of these cards in, or you could tweak your land to make it a little bit of more the expensive lands. But the first one that we thought might be a really good
Mm-hmm.
synergy for this deck is Benelish Marshal. It costs 3 white, so again, it's one of those white cards. But other creatures you control get +1/+1. It's a human itself, so it would get all the benefits that the other
Yep.
ones get. So this would be a great card. It's from Dominaria.
And then a new card that just came out is General Kudrow of Dranith for 1 white and a black. He's really great. He's a 3/3, and other humans you control get +1/+1. And whenever it or another human enters the battlefield under your control, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. So it just gets rid of their graveyard stuff. And you can pay
Hmm.
2 and sacrifice 2 humans to destroy a target creature with power 4 or greater. It's such a strong card for this deck.
Yeah, definitely. Icon of Ancestry and Radiant Destinies, I'll talk about those two at the same time because they do pretty much the same thing. Basically, you're going to choose a creature when they enter the battlefield, and creatures of that chosen type get +1/+1. Each of them has a little bit different ability attached to it. Of course, Icon of Ancestry has that little tutor that you can reveal cards until you find a human and grab it. And then Radiant Destiny, if you have Ascend, they all your creatures have vigilance, or no, sorry, City's Blessing.
Yep.
Then all your creatures have vigilance. So vigilance would be great in this deck, and you will have or you will have City's Blessing in no time. So.
For sure. Uh,
Mhm.
Ruinous Ultimatum. So this is a pretty hard card to cast, but when you do, it's going to be bad. For 2 red, 3 white, and 2 black, it's one of the new ultimatums, and it's a sorcery that destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. So you wipe everybody except you.
Except yourself. Yeah, I love
Sweet.
that. Yeah. Adaptive Automaton costs 3. Most of our tweaks, there's a few higher mana cost ones, but most of our tweaks we tried to keep under 3 mana, so
Mm-hmm.
that's something to remember as well, unless it's a game changer like the one that Shauna just mentioned. When it enters the battlefield, you get to choose a creature type, and this creature is the same as that, it has the same creature type. Other creatures of this chosen type get +1/+1. So again, just trying to buff up all of those humans that you have.
Right on. And
Mm-hmm.
then there is Mentor of the Meek. So I've played a lot of token decks in my day, and Mentor of the Meek is really great for that. So 2 and a white, whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1. So yeah, it could be any of those tokens and stuff that you get. And if you do, draw a card. So it's just a really great card draw that just can get out of hand if you need it to be.
Mm-hmm. And every good human warrior army needs an inspiring leader, and a Johnny is just the one.
That's right.
For 4 and 2 white, um, a Johnny will come in with 5 loyalty. You can +2 him and gain 2 life. Put 2/1/1 counters on up to one target creature, so you can buff one thing up. It has some removal, exile target creature, its controllers gain 2 life. But if you can get it to its -10, hopefully, creatures you control gain flying and double strike until the end of turn. So that would be super beneficial and a fun thing to do to people.
Yeah. And then we've also got our friend Judith, the Scourge Diva. She is for one, a black and a red, a 2/2 that gives other creatures you control +1/+0. And whenever a non token creature you control dies, Judith deals 1 damage to any target. So, yeah, you got lots of creatures swinging and dying. So, let's use that to get rid of our opponent
Hmm.
or the opponent's creatures.
Yeah, exactly. Rising Populace is also a human for 2 and a white, a 2/2. But whenever another creature or planeswalker you control dies, you get to put a 1/1 counter on Rising Populace and, sacrificial tokens.
Mm hmm. That has gone crazy for me before.
Hmm.
Um, One of my favorite cards in all of Magic is Thalia Heretic Cathar for 2 and a white. She's a 3/2 first strike human soldier. She is beautiful, and she gives creatures and non basic lands your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Done.
Yeah,
I'm slowing you down. She's there.
yeah.
She's on the defense.
Well, and there are other cards that do that. So it's interesting because I know everyone's like, well, there's this card or whatever. This one is also a human soldier. So she
Yeah.
takes advantage of all the synergies that humans do, as well as having those
Yeah.
benefits. So that's why her. Unbreakable Formation is 2 and a white. Creatures you control gain indestructible till the end of turn. We felt that this deck could use some more maybe indestructible
Mm-hmm.
creators, just because you don't want all your stuff to die all the time. It does have the addendum that if you cast this during your main phase, you can put a 1/1 counter on each of those creatures and they gain vigilance until the end of turn. So that's a huge, like, just swing in and do a lot of damage in one fell swoop.
Yes. Then we have Hanwar Garrison, and I forget what the other side is. So just give me 1 second. So it is a 2/3 for 3 human soldier creature. Whenever it attacks, you put 2/1/1 red human creature tokens onto the battlefield, tapped and attacking. And then if you transform this card into a 7/4, how do you transform it though?
It melds. It doesn't transform, so it melds with Hanweir Battlements, and then it becomes a
Oh,
7/4.
right. That's why we didn't. Sorry, I was thinking it was a transforming card for some reason.
Hmm.
But yeah, the
Yeah,
other,
and you don't need to meld
no,
it for it to be in this deck, but you
it's to make the
can if you want to
tokens.
go
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
token
something that creates
creation
tokens. Hmm.
card. That's what I was doing with that.
Yeah. So Archetype of Courage is the next one that we thought would be good. It's 1 and 2 white. Creatures you control have first strike. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
And then creatures your opponents control lose first strike and can't gain first strike. So
Nice.
give all your stuff first strike. Make it so that they can't block very easily. And yeah, they're all buffed up.
Sweet. Now this is a transforming card. The Hanwar Militia Captain. It's a 2/2 for 2, a 1 and a white. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 4 or more creatures, transform Militia Captain. And then she becomes a. Sorry, I got to read it closer. It is a power and toughness are each equal to the number of creatures you control. Oh darn. At the beginning of your end step, put a 1/1 white and black human cleric creature token onto the battlefield.
Hmm.
So you're just making your battlefield bigger too. Haha.
Yeah. So Throne of the God, I love that card and I think it should be in this deck. But Throne of the God Pharaohs is another card that I love and I think should be in this deck. For 2, at the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures you control. And of course, this deck is all about just swinging in and tapping all your creatures. Doesn't matter. Sometimes you can just tap your creatures for the sake of tapping your creatures for other abilities, but this is an artifact. It stays on the battlefield. They're going to want to get rid of it because they're just going to keep losing life
Mm-hmm.
um, each time that you finish your turn. So,
It's crazy.
mhm.
And in my opinion, you can't have a soldier deck without Tajik. He's my
Yeah.
buddy. Tajik Legion's Edge for 3/2. He's haste, legendary human soldier that has mentor. So when you swing, it gives a buff to anybody that has one or has a power less than he does. And like he's a human soldier, so he's got lots. So prevent all non
Mhm.
combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. So, yeah, they have to get rid of him in order to do any sort of lightning strikes or anything like that on
Mhm.
your creatures. Sweet.
Yeah.
And you can
Essentially making
pay,
them
yeah,
indestructible.
you can pay a red and a white to give him first strike until end of turn. I've had people try to destroy my whole board, but they only destroyed Tajik.
Yeah,
It's nice.
it's great. So make a stand is 2 and a white. It's an instant. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and gain indestructible
Mm-hmm.
till the end of turn. So again, another response to those board wipes. You can just say, "Oh no, by the way, I'm swinging in for +1/+0," and they all, yeah,
Yeah, you're in trouble. Then we've got Anointed Procession, and again, the token decks. I really like to use this card. So it's for 3 and a white, an enchantment. If an effect would create one or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many of those tokens
yes,
instead.
yes, yes, yes.
I love it.
And as if you didn't have a chance for glory with that, you do with this card. I did it again for what in a red and a white. Chance for glory is an instant. It create creatures you control gain indestructible. You get to
Mm-hmm.
then take an extra turn after this one at the beginning of your turn's end step. You lose the game. So this is you're in the game. Your final with like you started with 5 and now it's just me and Shauna and you're just going to swing in and win the game.
Yep, you are.
Yeah.
Glorious Anthem for 1 and 2 white. It's an enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1. Simple.
Yeah.
Just buff them all up.
Rallying Roar, similar, 2 and a white. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until the end of turn, and you untap them. So that's
Nice.
just to the end of turn, but you get to untap them for blockers. So it would be good.
And then we've got Showstopper for 1, a black and a red, an instant until end of turn. Creatures you control gain. When this creature dies, it deals 2 damage to target creature and opponent controls. Let's just finish them off. Why don't
Yeah.
we?
Yeah. It's for that time that you couldn't get rid of, you couldn't like make them indestructible and your guys are going to die. Well, fine then. I'm going to take one of your creatures out.
You're dying with me.
Yeah, and our final tweak of the day is Ethereal Absolution. And this is another, a little bit more expensive, but possibly a game-changing card for 4 and a white and a black. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and creatures your opponents control get -1/-1, so buffs them up, as well as if they're playing tokens as well, potentially killing everything as it comes in, which is really helpful. As a additional bonus, you can pay 2 and a white and a black to exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. If it was a creature card, you create a 1/1 black, white and black spirit token with flying. So you're getting tokens. You're getting rid of their graveyard shenanigans. I think this should definitely be in this
Yeah, I
deck.
think so too. Good choice.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, that's it for this week, and that's it for our Commander deck breakdowns. If you haven't seen them all, just feel free to pop over to our YouTube channel and check them out. Thank you so much for joining us in these, and as we venture into the new territory of Ikora, pretty excited about this new set. And you can check us out on YouTube. We have podcasts anywhere you can get your podcasts. Connect with us on Twitter and Facebook or Instagram. We're happy to see what you think of these cards, or see what you think of the set, or what we could change, what your suggestions are. Have lots of fun, and in the meantime, tap those magic cards and have fun doing it. Bye, guys.
See ya.